now listening to the Lineman Lounge,
where sleeves are optional.
Aren't you tired of the same old podcast? Aren't you tired of the same old things? Don't you want to switch it up a little bit? Listen up, cause I'm about to blow your brain. Let your seat kick back, let your feet relax. Come on over, take a listen to the Lineman Lounge. In the car, at your crib, anywhere that you want. Come on over, take a listen to the Lineman Lounge. Got the NFL, got MLB, got NBA, and some UFC. Got college sports, we talking fantasy. Come on over, take a listen to the boy Mike C. Only on
the Lineman Lounge.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is the Lineman Lounge coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional. I opted to never wear sleeves ever again, probably. Evo's got them on today, and we have a pretty interesting show, pretty quick today, but we got interesting topics to cover. I'm kind of excited. I'm ready to crack my first beer. After we get done with this, we're going to go play some golf.
Out in the fucking heat.
Yeah, it's going to be hot as fuck.
We're both sleep deprived.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
I took yesterday off. I felt like shit.
Oh.
I felt so fucking terrible yesterday. My eyes have been so puffy and just allergies have been kicking my ass. So stay at home.
You lucky.
I feel great right now. I'm tired, but also not as tired as I would normally be. I'm ready to crack a beer and kind of get into the show. Other than us playing some golf later, I know I got my mama's birthday today. I got to get some spaghetti sauce cooking. We're going to do some chicken parm. Shout out. Happy birthday, Mama Carlisle. Anything else you got going on this weekend?
Yeah. First flag football games tomorrow morning. So that'll be all right. You know, like I said, the last time scrimmages actually went pretty well. And both practices this week, we actually did defensive lineups. So these kids actually know what we're doing. We switched from like a 6-2 style defense to more of a 5-3.
Okay.
So that'll be nice. And while practicing those, we actually had offensive plays being run against it. So I think that part of it will slowly start to be coming together. It'll be nice to put that out in the field, see how we do. Again, it's all about just us having fun or the kids having fun. So looking forward to that.
We got a game tomorrow as well. We thought we didn't have a game because basically everybody in the league is going up to Phoenix. We're not. We're having a home game in Benson, so we got to drive fucking 45 minutes away.
They're putting all of our flag games at the same spot because even though we have most of the teams from here in town, two of the other teams are kind of up there. Some are of the like tackle games are split further north, so they're like it's a good halfway point. And I was like,
yeah. No. So what time do you guys get tomorrow?
8:45.
Oh fuck! So you guys will be, I'm
gonna be up there early.
Yeah, we're gonna get there about 10:30 for our noon game. I'm not looking forward to playing a game at noon in fucking Benson. It's gonna be hotter than shit.
Yeah.
But good week of practice this week. We worked through some things that definitely showed themselves to be a problem in our very first game. Kids were not used to coaches not being on the field, so we spent a lot of time drilling that this week.
Yeah, that'll be the most interesting part about tomorrow, I think, is that we never really got a good idea of how we're going to do player rotations, especially with only one coach on the field. So we are just going to have the one coach on the field who aligns up the players and, at least one coach on the sideline sending players in and out. So that'll be fun to figure out. I'm sure we'll handle it. Because that's just the way it's going to go. It's flag football. We'll figure it out. Yep. The worst part for me, I think, is that I'm nursing that injury. So I had back spasms and stuff because I went so fucking hard in the gym. I did body weight Hindu squats. And if I do anything where I do a little bit of tension on my leg muscles, they tighten up and then it pulls on the piriformis right through the groinus maximus to my back injury and then have some little lower back spasms. So I got a nice shot in the butt cheek to release my back, and now I'm on some other drugs, which is perfectly fine. Next time I'll try and make sure to have the doctor, the cute chick that was injecting my ass cheek with the shot, take a TikTok for us so you can be like, this is what sports does to your body. Military service.
You can't get that kind of content really from any other podcast, but maybe the Lineman Lounge.
We could try to recreate it.
I'm not putting the needle in your ass.
All right.
But
Porn happened.
speaking of, interacting with the show, seeing different things, go ahead, follow us on Twitter. You can go on Facebook. We have TikTok, Instagram. Also, we have the email.
LymanLounge@gmail.com.
LymanLounge@gmail.com. I had it this time. But
I'm sorry.
Hey, you know what? I
Take it away,
appreciate
Daddy.
you. Yeah, so we're trying to make some moves, trying to do some big things, trying to see if we can maybe find some sponsorship, become affiliates. So if you would like to see your beverage here instead of the beverage I currently have, email us at LymanLounge@gmail.com.
Or even if you are a fan of the show and there's certain beverages that you would like to see working with the show, hit us up. We're open to ideas because we're very new at this, so we're just kind of searching out there for affiliates and going after different things. Like, we put ourselves out there to some places and they've actually said, no, you're not what we're looking for. And as it turns out, they're just real shit products.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Like, who wants a sock with grips on it that are toe socks?
Yeah,
so that way
socks.
you can grip the floor better when you're getting down with your lady or guy. That's just dumb. Be a man and let your toe fingers grip into the ground to get you that good
So don't get me
action.
wrong. I wanted the fuck socks as a sponsor.
They're not called fuck socks. We're just not gonna call.
I'm not
going to
say what the name is of the product. I wanted the fuck socks, but literally just so I could call them fuck socks at one point.
Oh yeah. They get the official suck my dick from the back SMD FTB stamp. Fuck you.
Yeah.
But we would have repped you hardcore. So if we get a sponsor on the show, we're gonna rep the shit out of you.
Oh yeah. Especially if you're the very first one, the first people that make that commitment to the Lineman Lounge, you guys are going to get the best of all of this.
Oh yeah. And there's a lot to go around.
There is. This is the thickest podcast in the world, probably. So
yeah, very thick.
Are you ready to get into the show?
Yeah, let's jump into it. So starting tomorrow, college football kicks off. All right.
Hell yeah. I cannot wait for college football to get started.
So not a whole lot of cool, super interesting games going on if you're just looking from a national spotlight type of situation. But there's at least one game that kind of gets your juices flowing, right?
Yeah. So there are not a lot of great games, but there is one game that I am actually going to probably watch. And I'm also going to bet. And I'm going to give you guys the Lineman Lounge's first bet of the football season. I told you guys early on when I was doing just the audio portion of this, I'm a big sports bettor. I do pretty good. Now, if you guys decide to play some of my bets and you do well, awesome. If I can make you money, great. If you lose money, be a fucking man. You make your own bets. All right? I'm just going to give you the advice that I'm going to use and place my own bets. So the first game of the college football season, Nebraska at Illinois. Now, this is really the only noteworthy game in my opinion, but the line right now, depending on where you go, is -6.5 for Nebraska. Now, Nebraska under Scott Frost has not been very good. They're 12-20 under Scott Frost. And Nebraska is supposed to be, or was at one point thought to be, a national powerhouse until they came over to the Big Ten and then been getting their asses spanked by Ohio State. So I do not like Nebraska. Illinois beat the shit out of Nebraska last year. Now, Illinois, new coach, they're bringing in Brett Bielema. I don't know that Illinois wins this game, but I do not think Nebraska covers 6.5. So I do all my betting on Bovada. Bovada has a line right now at -7 for Nebraska. -7 at -105. So I don't like those odds. I don't think Nebraska beats them by more than a touchdown if you're on Bovada. And depending on if you're in states where sports betting is legal and you have FanDuel, you can check out their lines. But I like Illinois in this game. Not sure. Have you taken a look at any of these college football games yet, man?
No, sir. I honestly, I have been with this night shift not even aware of really what's going on with sports. I'm playing catch up as best as possible.
Right.
Didn't even know the college football season was starting off yet.
Yeah, tomorrow, man. So it's coming up very quick, and we're on the last week of this night shift. I'm going to days. I don't know what you got going on.
Not me, Daddy. I'm staying on them nights.
Woo! Okay, so Yeah, it's going to suck. We're going to have to figure out a new
Yeah.
podcast time probably. We'll let you guys know once we figure out our schedules when the podcast will be coming out. But, yeah, that night shift sucks. But college football is right around the corner. So before I joined the Army, called Wyoming home, so there was a ton of Nebraska fans, and I love taking a big fat shit on Nebraska's chest because I fucking hate them.
Oh, the old Cleveland Steamer. Is that where it comes from?
Yeah.
Your Cleveland roots and dropping deuces.
Yeah, it's literally, I mean, people from Cleveland shit on your chest when we know that you suck and we're better than you.
Clip it and ship it. Mike's
go.
the original Cleveland Steamer.
You're welcome. Yeah, so fuck Nebraska. I got Illinois. Now, my hate for Nebraska has nothing to do with my bet. I bet with my head, not with my heart, because there are times where I have bet against the Browns. Actually, several times I have bet against the Browns because, well, if you're going to lose, you might as well make money.
If you're going to know one team, it's your home team, your team, and if they're going to be good or bad, you just got to be honest with yourself. I've been in the same position as a Vikings fan, so homerism doesn't have to come into play when it comes into your money.
No, when we're talking about bets and we're talking about money, I don't give a shit who I'm betting for or against. I'm in it to make the money.
Yep.
So.
All right, so moving on from that, NFL stuff, we have preseason games, the last week of preseason going on right now, actually. We're not going to kind of go over those scores as they're going on. Like my Vikings play tonight. They'll be playing probably while we're golfing. I might just throw in an earpiece and listen to that as I'm shanking balls all over this fucking course.
You hate this place.
I'm not a fan of this place, and it's also not going to be good just because, like, my back is fucked up. So the plan is medicate with alcohol, medicate with regular drugs, and hopefully that cocktail just keeps me loosey-goosey. But we'll see. Either way, this is kind of the make-or-break week for bubble players. This is where we're going to start seeing starters named. Some of those starters actually have been named for quarterback. Pretty much all of them are what I was expecting to end up happening. Maybe not what I would have thought would have been best. One notable starting spot for quarterback hasn't been named yet, and that's the 49ers. Shanahan's staying mum on that right now between Trey Lance and Garoppolo. I think you and I both are of the same mindset that Garoppolo should be the starter, and hopefully that is enough to continue to carry the 49ers. They have a very good roster.
Health was their concern. Health was the problem last year. That is a playoff caliber team if they stay healthy, and Garoppolo plays average.
Yep, and we had some comments on Facebook or maybe the YouTube video, I can't remember which, specifically about the 49ers and Garoppolo, and that 49ers fan, Kamai, actually spoke to us on there.
Oh, Joe Rockstar?
Yeah, Joe Rockstar. He's a big 49ers fan. Check out Joe Rockstar on YouTube and out on the socials. But he's a big 49ers fan. He basically was saying, yeah, we need to start Garoppolo. It'd be dumb not to. This is the long game that we're playing here, not the short game. Long game, best play, Garoppolo starts. But again,
do you think that is the overwhelming consensus of 49ers fans, though?
I would think so, unless you are kind of like one of those fly by the seat 49ers fans where it's like, oh, I just wear a hat and a jersey or whatever, and then I say it, they're my sports team, but I couldn't tell you three of the starters. One of those types of fans. Right. I think they're going to be like, yeah, he's our first overall pick, Trey Lance. He's got to be the starter, right? He's the new hotness. He's going to be the new, Patrick Mahomes. Those types of fans probably are going to be the ones banging the table for Trey Lance. But if you actually pay attention to the sport at all, I think that the best move for them is to have Garoppolo start.
Yeah, I mean, Garoppolo needs to start. I like Trey Lance. Trey Lance has a massive upside. His ceiling is incredibly high, but right now his floor is incredibly low. We talked about it on the last show.
Yep.
You know what you're getting with Garoppolo. You're going to get, if he throws the ball 20 times a game, he's going to complete 12 passes for about 150 yards. And you can win with that if you're the Niners because you have a fucking amazing running game and a terrific defense when they're healthy.
Yep. Moving on from that, Jameis Winston named the starter down in New Orleans.
I knew it was coming, and I think it's the right play.
He's the one
but Sean Payton,
quarterback there.
Guarantee he's like just fucking cracked a beer. And he's like, fuck it, Jameis is the guy.
Yeah.
Can't be happy about this.
I'm slowly moving. Like, I'm not a Jameis fan. but I'm slowly moving towards, he might actually have an okay season. I took a little bit more time on these night shifts when I was not flying, watching some more clips from games, more cut-ups of like the All-22 feed. And Jameis actually, he was throwing tight, quick passes in rhythm to his guys. They weren't like inaccurate things like Case Keenum was throwing to the Vikings, a couple years ago when they had their playoff run and the receivers were bailing him out. It almost looks to be the other way where he's actually throwing in rhythm and stuff. And obviously he showed up well with that 2 touchdown, 9 of 10 in their last preseason game. So we'll see. He was the obvious choice, Taysom Hill. Yeah. It's better to have it be Jameis starting with Taysom than Jameis versus Taysom for this quarterback competition. Same way that Taysom augmented Drew Brees and gave them a little bit of diversity in their offense.
A little gadget stuff.
Yeah. It's better to have it be solidified. Jameis is our guy. Taysom, you're still going to get your reps because you are a good gadget type guy for us, and we're going to work with that. Yeah. We'll see how it works out. Jameis is really going to be your boomer bust type of guy, but it was a no-brainer there.
Taysom is a football player.
Yeah.
Taysom's not a quarterback. Taysom is a football player. He's one of those guys that he's like a utility guy in baseball. You put him anywhere on the fucking field, he'll be able to make you a play. He'll never be your star. He'll never be your starter, but you can basically put him anywhere on the fucking football field and he'll make a play. That's just kind of the guy he is. But so you were talking about Jameis being in rhythm. Was he in more rhythm than Zach Wilson? Have you watched any of the Zach Wilson stuff yet?
Yeah, Zach Wilson, it's not that he didn't impress me. He didn't stand out to me, but Zach Wilson looked better than some of the quarterbacks out there, namely like my Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins didn't look good. He was just doing dink and dunks and stuff like that. So again, the preseason, the playbooks are just different. You're not, I could sit here and argue for Kirk Cousins. Well, he's not playing with his number 2, number 1 receiver. He's not playing with his, full starting offensive line, blah, blah, blah. The rhythm things are going to be a little bit off. Right. But at the end of the day, if you're starting an NFL quarterback, you should be able to make that happen. With the Jets, who knows who's going to be their starters because their team is so much in flux right now. So he's probably playing with guys that he's going to be playing with mostly during week 1 of the regular season. He looked okay. He didn't look like a standout or anything like that necessarily to me. He wasn't popping off the film like this is a top 3 pick. But I'm also not taking that as that's a problem.
No, I'm not saying that it's a problem. But people who are anointing Zach Wilson already. So I said this on the last show. I'm not rooting against Zach Wilson. I want to see him do it against a real defense. But these people who are anointing him as he's the next guy. He's going to be the saving grace of the Jets. He is the best quarterback of the group. They're starting to get on my fucking nerves a little bit. Don't get me wrong. He did not look bad in the last game. I said this last time. He looked pretty good. But there are some throws that if he makes that throw against a first-team defense on a good team, they're fucking picks. Yeah. Like that, he threw it was a hitch late, and he threw it inside. That ball is 6 points the other fucking direction against any starting defense in the NFL. Yeah. If he makes that throw in a regular season game, it didn't happen. So I don't want to keep burying Zach. He looked pretty good last game. He looked pretty good, but if you're a Jets fan, stop fucking coming at me. All right.
Yeah, you need to hedge your bets a little bit. Now, me personally, I love parity in the NFL. I love when teams that are not supposed to be good turn out to be good and kind of turn the NFL's head upside down.
Like the Browns.
Sports bettors, things like that. Sure, absolutely. I like voting for those teams to do well. Jets are one of them. I think that's just such a tough franchise to do well in that media market, but I'm rooting for Jets players and fans and everything that their team actually shows up this year. I'm rooting for Zach Wilson. I would love to see them, make us all look like fools. Any pundits look like fools. That'd be great. So looking forward to that. Another one of those top overall picks, Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguars. He was named the starter.
Yep. That was a foregone conclusion the day he was picked.
Now I'll say this. So if you just look straight at the stats, his preseason games have been meh. Again, looked at those cut-ups all 22. He's actually looking really good.
He has the most poise of any of the quarterbacks.
It looks like the playbook Urban Meyer's playbook looks stale, which is weird. He's known for not having stale offense and stuff like that.
Maybe that's preseason.
But it almost looks, it could be, but it looks like he's 5 to 10 years behind almost with an NFL playbook.
Well, okay, so I mean that would not surprise me. Urban is a old school guy, that's one of the reasons I worried about his transition over into the NFL. He's a real rah-rah guy, but he's also kind of old school in the way that he does things. He's old football type. That's why he brought in Ryan Day to help kind of revolutionize that offense before Urban left Ohio State and Ryan Day took over.
And it seems like there's reports coming out that some of the players are not happy with Urban Meyer's coaching style, which is not super surprising to me either. But yeah, watching that film, I was actually significantly impressed. There was a lot of like drop balls and stuff like that. Like Trevor Lawrence is playing for the Jaguars, and they're the Jaguars. Like, let's be real. But if you want to get really excited by one of those top overall picks, just watch how Trevor Lawrence is playing. The footwork, his reads, how his eyes are going. Like, his film looks really good. And then another sports website where you can get different articles, really in-depth stuff, better than what the mostly clickbait type stuff that you'll see on ESPN. TheAthletic.com.
Oh, I love The Athletic.
They are worth a subscription. Their beat writers and people that they've been talking to, scouts and stuff, are actually really, really excited on what they're seeing from Trevor Lawrence through the practices in these preseason games. So, that makes me a little bit more excited, because just being kind of a passive fan of NFL overall, where it's like I'm not super hyper focused on certain players like Trevor Lawrence. You look at the stats and they're just uninspiring, but then when you actually go watch his play film, it's actually really inspiring. It gets you really excited for them. And again, I like the parody. I would love to see Trevor Lawrence go out and ball and kind of lift his team up. That I think that they're going to be bottom half of the league easily, but I think that they're actually going to have 6+ wins maybe this year if they have a really good year. So, and that's going to be on his shoulders. He's going to be the one making that happen.
Well, there's very few things to not like about Trevor Lawrence. I mean, his poise in the pocket, to me, is astounding for his first time in the NFL. Now, I have not seen the All-22, but you can just kind of tell from watching the clips from the TV version. He stands in there, stands tall, has no problem, kind of flipping his eyes. But I can't necessarily see what the safeties are doing if I'm not looking at the All-22. But, yeah, he looks really good. Now, the stats are not great, but it's Jacksonville, so I give him...
Like I said, there's a lot of dropped passes and things like that. You can tell.
At one point, Tim Tebow was one of his fucking pass catchers.
Yeah.
So they don't have a ton of talent.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give Trevor... This year for Trevor is going to be let's see the raw talent, and then after this year, because this is a learning year for Urban as well. There's no way that Urban's only going to be there for 1 year, especially with as much control as they gave Urban. So this is going to be a growing process together. This whole first year is kind of a wash. It's very much a learning process for both of these guys.
Yep, definitely. So again, this is the final week of preseason. If you are a big fan of a particular team or particular players that are going to be on roster bubbles, this is kind of the week to watch your team and specific players, because this is where you're going to find out where your final roster is, who's going to be going to the practice squad, and who's not going to be making the team. So that's always the funnest part of preseason for me, is watching those bottom of the roster guys that you're really pulling for and seeing if they're going to be able to make one of those spots.
So this is the last week, right? Mm-hmm. So if you are a football fan and you get a chance to watch the game, or if you don't get a chance to watch the game, tell us. Email us. Hit us up on social. Like, hey, I'm not able to watch this particular team. We'll go back. We'll take a look. We'll watch some of the game. And we'll give you our takes on what we saw.
Yeah, we'll hunt down the stuff from the beat writers and whatnot and see what we can get information on certain players, things like that, if there's specific people that you want us looking out for.
Because the preseason's tough. Like, if you are across the country from your favorite team and your team is not very popular, you may not be able to watch these preseason games. But we can go out, we can find these clips, we can look for a whole bunch of different stuff, and then we can come to you guys and then give you that content as well. But all right.
Along with that, you'll actually start to see some of these trades happening this week. Usually, it'll be mostly some lesser name players, guys that possibly could be roster cuts. Teams will make trades for them just to make sure that they don't have to fight for them once they are roster cuts. They're not good enough to, or not going to make their current roster, but they're good enough to play in the NFL. And so there will be these little trades here or there. There's been a couple of them already this week. Nothing too spectacular, but the biggest name out of all of them, and probably the biggest or most impactful one out of all of them, Sony Michel gets traded from the Patriots to the LA Rams. Rams have had some injuries and stuff like that going on with their running backs. Sony Michel has been part of a large ensemble with the Patriots, even though he's been one of their more talented running backs. But the way that the Patriots work, they are able to go with that ensemble crew. No one necessarily sticks out from week to week as the guy. Sony Michel did a little bit earlier in his career because he's talented. But going to the Rams, where you got Akers, who's out.
Yeah, which is, I think, is exactly why the Rams make this move.
Sony Michel's going in there, and he's going to be able to provide an immediate impact to that team, and good pickup for the Rams.
Yeah.
I think it was like a late round 5th and a late round 7th, and they're both conditional.
Yeah.
So a little bit more trade capital than you usually see at this time of year. Usually it's like a 6th round pick, and these are future like 2022, 2023 type picks and stuff like that for, some guys that might only be there for a little bit. It's like that you have an injury at one position and this guy's not going to be back for 5 weeks. So let's go out and get a guy who's a fringe guy on another team that is going to be able to provide us good depth and solid play here for the next 5 weeks. And we're not having to give up too much capital. The difference is with Sony Michel. Sony Michel is going to be there for the whole season. He's probably going to play a significant role the whole season.
Yeah. So Sony Michel, former first round pick. I thought it was too high. I mean, he went in front of Nick Chubb, but has been productive at times and then kind of fallen into the mix of all the other running backs over there in New England. This is a great pickup for the Rams. I had Cam Akers as like one of those breakout candidates this year until the injury. That was a guy I was looking to absolutely go out and get in basically every fantasy league I'm going to play in. Because I thought he was going to have a great year with Stafford as a quarterback.
Yep. And it kind of hurts Darrell Henderson for those who are watching for any sort of fantasy takes. Darrell Henderson, that's going to hurt his value a little bit.
It is. Now, Henderson's his value skyrocketed with Akers going down. Even with Akers still in there, I think he still had some value as a handcuff and a possible flex play depending on the week, because Henderson had a pretty good year last year. Henderson is a bigger guy. Sony's not nearly as big. Sony's pretty good out of the backfield. I think this gives them a nice little 1-2 punch. Now, a 5th and a 7th is quite a bit for a guy who probably was not going to get a ton of playing time up in New England.
Yeah, and there was talks of him not making the roster.
Right. Yeah, and because I don't remember who New England's new running back is, who they are very excited about.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
They have a couple guys, but again, they run that deep running backfield. They always got like a Rex Burkhead.
Yeah, so I mean, Rex is always going to be there, and then I don't have it here in this article. They have one kid that they are very excited about who's been getting a lot of touches in preseason and has looked damn good. I'm gonna have to look that up if I'm gonna do well in fantasy. Speaking of, are you in any fantasy leagues this year?
I am in the regular work league that I'm a part of.
Oh, yeah, I just got in that one with you guys, right?
Yep. Let's see. So, running back depth chart, Damian Harris, James White, Ramondre Stevenson, and J.J. Taylor.
I think it's Damian Harris.
Okay.
He's not a rookie then. He's a second-year guy, right?
Damian Harris is drafted in 2019, third-round pick by New England.
That's a second-year guy. They are very high on him.
Yep.
So.
Either way, it's tough sometimes for, like I said, for Patriots guys. All these guys could be productive, but it's which one is going to be the guy this week.
Right.
It's a gamble.
So at one point, I guarantee if you're lucky enough to pick the right week, pick up Rex Burkhead on a 1-week flyer. He'll score you 3 touchdowns almost guaranteed. It happens every fucking year. You just never know when it's coming.
Burkhead's a good PPR play as well. He's definitely a good receiver. So if you need a later round guy or a guy to fill in for a week, your Burkhead's a good PPR play if you're in one of those leagues. And going into fantasy sports and stuff like that with fantasy drafts probably happening over this Labor Day weekend. I know that's when ours is.
Yep.
That's the smartest time to do your fantasy draft. If you drafted a couple weeks ago, shame on you. Shame on your league managers.
Don't ever draft before the fucking preseason is over. You don't know who's getting injured.
Yeah. How many people have already had their draft and they went out and got Etienne, and now Etienne's out for the season with the Liz Frank injury? You got to feel foolish. But also, quick fantasy take. You can clip and ship this one. Add some fun to your leagues if you're a league manager, okay? The scoring in fantasy leagues is pretty much standard across the board,
I have a question about our scoring in a second. Go ahead.
Okay. It's usually pretty standard. Add a little bit of fun and parody into your league. The thing that I love to do in leagues that I'm in, if I'm a league manager and that I've pushed in the past, and I'm going to bring up for our league this year, we'll see if anyone bites on it. I feel like we won't. Do things like if a kicker misses a extra point, minus 35 points. Like crazy shit like that. Specifically add a roster spot just for safeties. It's like some leagues have defensive player. Add one in where it's safeties only. And your safety has to play well and get a lot of tackles for your team to be like realistically competitive, or up your defensive and special teams scoring a bunch to make those positions not just roster fillers, make them like impactful, because it's going to make your league that much more interesting. The one where it's like if you miss an extra point from your kicker and you lose 35 points, you have to roster a kicker. You could be going out there and having a baller week, and then all of a sudden you have a kicker go out there and shank an extra point, and you just fucked your week up. So it makes kickers really impactful, and it adds a little bit more fun to the league, a little bit more parody. Those sorts of things are always fun to add in.
So I used to run a league of my own. We ran it probably for 5 or 6 years. A bunch of guys from Alaska that I was with. But we always did individual defensive players because I like defense is part of the game. I like having that as part of the game. But in the league that we're in for work, I noticed that passing touchdowns for a quarterback right now are currently worth 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a league where the passing touchdowns are just as valuable as a rushing or a receiving touchdown because there are so many more of them. Typically, they're 4 points.
Yeah. I don't remember if they were 4 points last year or not, honestly. I haven't looked through any of the change to league rules or anything like that, so that's something that
if you are in a league where passing touchdowns are worth 6 points, this is the only time I'm going to advocate that you take a quarterback in the first round. If you can get a guy who you know is going to throw a shitload of touchdowns, a Mahomes, a Josh Allen, a Tom Brady, those guys that are going to throw 40-plus touchdowns.
Jameis Winston.
I worry about the interceptions. Those guys become instantly way more valuable if those points are worth 6 fucking points.
Yeah.
Because, the record's 56 touchdowns?
Something like that, yeah. It's in the mid-50s.
That is insane amount of fucking fantasy points. That's the only time I advocate for taking a quarterback in the first round. Otherwise, draft your goddamn running backs like you should, unless you're at the bottom of the first round, then take a receiver or a tight end.
Yep. And then the other thing to do, if you are in a very large league, one thing that I would promote to you to make your league a little bit more competitive, because in a large league where you're going past 12 teams, you have 14, 16 teams in there, you start to run out of players that are worth rostering, and it makes it kind of rough. Return points, punt return yards, and kick return yards. You make those points higher, and that immediately takes your fourth wide receiver, third running back guys that are also returners.
Now they're
makes them
players.
valuable, and they can put up just as much as a starting running back sometimes, or a number 2 receiver or something like that. And so that actually allows you a little bit more flexibility within your league. So just things to look at for fantasy that, having played for close to 20 years now.
We told you guys we were going to hit on a lot of different things today. We got a bet. We got some fantasy. We got some NFL quarterback news, and a trade. What else we got?
Hey, we had that start sit cut that we put out.
We did have a start sit cut.
Yeah.
And this went exactly the way I thought it would.
So it was Khalil Mack, Jadeveon Clowney, and J.J. Watt start sit cut. Again, these are kind of players that have been out there for a little bit. They're probably past their prime, maybe not, depending, if you have an argument as to why. We didn't really, I don't think, got a whole lot of comments as to why people were picking who they were picking.
We had the one comment that they thought it was very curious that Khalil was getting as many votes as he got.
Yeah. So overwhelmingly, Khalil Mack took the lead as the number one guy. So that's who you, the fans, thought would be our starter. And then our bench guy, that turned out to be J.J. Watt.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I expected. I thought Jadeveon would get a vote. Didn't get any. Not a single vote. So Jadeveon's getting cut. I think this is the way I would go with it as well. Khalil, JJ, and then Jadeveon. I went with Khalil, but I have my reservations because where he's at in his career at this point with the Bears. When he was a defensive end, because that's what we put on there was defensive ends, right? When he was a true defensive end with his hand in the dirt with the now Las Vegas Raiders, at the time the Oakland Raiders, he was much more productive. He was getting lowest 73 tackles, highest 78 tackles. Over double-digit sacks every year with them, except for his rookie year where only had 4. Okay, I understand it as a rookie. Since he has gone to Chicago, 47 tackles, 50 tackles, only 1 year with over 10 sacks.
Which year was that?
And that was 2018, his first year in Chicago.
Yep. And that was with Vic Fangio there as the defensive coordinator. I feel like his play has dropped off some. I don't know if that is scheme, age, but I think Vic Fangio has a lot to do with that. He's a really good defensive coordinator, maybe not as good of a head coach as we're seeing with the Denver Broncos.
Right.
Khalil Mack was my pick as the starter as well because he is a very multiple guy. I feel like Chicago has a much better defense than the Raiders did. So you're going to see more standout stats from Khalil while he's with the Raiders versus with Chicago. He gets lost in the mix a little bit more, and then I don't think the scheme is as good for him in Chicago.
I think he's better with his hand in the dirt.
Yeah.
He's not a linebacker. I mean, he played linebacker in college at Buffalo, but he was really good at rushing the passer.
Yes.
That's what he is. He is a pass rusher. I don't want to see Khalil drop into coverage.
Correct.
I mean, that scheme doesn't fit for him. I think if he gets traded to a team where they're in a 4-3, we could see another dominant year from Khalil, but that's not where he's at right now.
Yeah, and it's possible that, just he's getting older and falling off some. That definitely could be the case, but I feel like he still has more in the tank that is just not able to be unleashed with his current situation in Chicago. Number 2 for me, J.J. Watt. The injuries are what scare me the most.
Me too.
But as a defensive end, he's still a stud. And then he also has that flexibility to pop inside as kind of a rush defensive tackle role, and then a little bit of tight end here and there and stuff like that.
He better never play tight end. He's better than Tim Tebow, but
yeah. But the reason why those two guys are picked above Jadeveon for me, and I know you don't want to hear this as a Browns fan because you think that he's going to be a very integral part of your defense, but the guy has never stayed healthy, and he's never had one of the years that's uber productive like he should have always been having as such a high-end pick. I feel like he's almost as close as you can come to like one of those fringe bust guys. Like he's busting for his draft position. He has all this incredible talent and then is just never able to put it together for whatever reason.
Yeah, when Houston drafted Jadeveon, they thought they were getting another Mario Williams, and they did not. Jadeveon has never been a high sack guy. He is fantastic against the run. He is a bookend. But he is not ever really got after the quarterback, and he's been hurt a lot. Microfracture surgery is No joke. That shit is hard to come back from. That's what derailed Greg Oden's NBA career. And Jadeveon has been dealing with it for a very long time. He is finally starting to get healthy. He looks good in Browns camp. But the injuries scare me, and that's why I go with J.J. Watt.
I mean, he's had some injuries there with the Browns already, right?
He has been banged up.
Through.
Soft tissue, though.
Yeah.
So, J.J., multiple Defensive Player of the Years, 20.5 sacks multiple times. He is a Hall of Famer. His recent injury history scares me, but I would have to take a known commodity in JJ and seeing him at a, best defensive player in the league.
Elite level
Over the elite levels that we've never seen Jadeveon get to.
Yeah.
Now, I hope that changes this year, obviously.
Sure.
But
you know what? As long as you get above average play out of Jadeveon, he's going to be a very good addition for your team. It's just, again, just like you said, there's tons of potential with Jadeveon, and we've just never seen it manifest.
Right.
We've never seen it all come together. And it's tough to keep on going to a guy and saying he's got all this talent. He's got, all the talent in the world to be really, really good.
Freak.
And, he just hasn't done it this year. So maybe this is the year. And at some point in time, you have to go to yourself, well, maybe all that talent is just never going to make it to the field.
Right. And that is obviously a worry, a concern with Jadeveon. Now, if some reports that are coming out of Cleveland are true, where he would like to play next to Miles on some plays so they can attack guards, maybe Jadeveon has a great year.
Yeah, there's been a couple funny articles coming out of Cleveland in the past couple of days. So one of them was a report where they're talking to Jadeveon, talking about him possibly playing next to Myles Garrett in, where one of them is on the inside on pass rushing downs and stuff like that. Talking about how guards are unathletic and they'll be able to kind of dominate them, which is not incorrect.
Which is 95% true.
Yeah, it's
for almost every guard in the league, with the exception of a couple.
Yeah, he said, we love that matchup. We feel like they're unathletic guys. The guard position, they're not real athletes down there. So they're just physical and maulers, but we try to get in there and create those matchups for certain guys, and hopefully we can get some wins.
Cleveland has two of the best guards.
Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, those are very good guards, and I'm not sure they appreciate those comments or whatever.
Right.
But, I mean, he's not wrong. Guards are more big, lumbering guys. Compared to a defensive end, and high talented athletic players like that, they should be able to dominate a lot of guards. The guards are part of a offensive line that all works in unison,
Well,
versus those guys are able to hunt and go after a passer and stuff like that. They should be able to work some stunts and things like that to get around the more lumbering big offensive linemen.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily incorrect. It's just kind of funny that article came out where it's like Jadeveon Clowney's bashing guards, saying that they're unathletic. Well, guards are very athletic, just in different ways than what you could typically think of like a premier athlete.
There's not a guard in the NFL who's probably not a better athlete than you or I right now. But when you're talking about NFL players, guards are probably your most unathletic guys on the field with D tackles. It's somewhere right in that range.
Yeah.
And that's why those guys go against each other.
Yep.
So, Jadeveon's not wrong. But you're going against two of the best guards in the NFL every week in practice. So,
Yep.
maybe watch what you're saying. But back to the start sit cut, Jadeveon would have to be my cut guy for the reasons that we talked about. I've never seen the high production. He's never been elite. He's been good. He's never been elite. But the last time he was good, he was playing on the opposite side of J.J. Watt. Now he's playing on the opposite side of Myles Garrett. We'll see if that actually helps him out.
Yeah. Again, I'm hoping for Clowney to do well. I'm hoping for your sake for him to do well this year. But with the start, sit, cut, the way it's sitting currently, and not knowing if that's actually going to happen, that's why Max, my number one guy, and then Watt will be there rotational, and then possibly playing interior a little bit, things like that.
And I'd have it the exact same way. So
Yep. So we'll do another one of those start sit cuts next week. If you have any ideas or things that you would like to see for a start sit cut, hit us up in the Gmail or on one of the social medias. Some interesting ideas for players, we'd love to see that, and then we can work those in for our start sit cut weekly segment.
If you guys got a position group you want to see a start sit cut on, or if you have 3 specific players that you're like, who you starting, who you sitting, who you cutting, send that too. I mean, we're good with whatever. I like kind of the way we're doing it now. We had 2 groups that were elite players. We have now a group that's a little aging. Might look at a group that we don't necessarily want to start any one of these guys, but we're going to have to make a pick.
Yeah.
So
Nothing but backup quarterbacks or something like that. You know, we'd
give me
like
Gardner Minshew all day. Well, no.
We can't do that because
Give
we
me
all
Case
know that we're doing
Keenum,
it.
and then Gardner Minshew.
All right. Did you want to talk at all about the little article I posted with the Paul brothers and the Browns?
Yeah, so we're gonna stay with the Browns theme, and kind of do a little fight talk. This weekend, Jake Paul will be fighting Tyrone Woodley in a match that I would love to see Jake Paul get knocked clean the fuck out. I just don't think it's gonna happen. Tyrone is a very good fighter, was dominant when he was a champion, but is very much aging. He looked a little punch drunk at times at the end of his UFC career, and he's not a boxer. As much as I hate to say it, at this point, Jake is a boxer. He is not a high-level boxer. He is not going to go out and fight a legit boxer who's been doing this for 10 years at this point and beat him. But I think he can beat Tyrone. But Myles Garrett was asked, could he beat Logan Paul in a boxing match? And Myles, obviously, as a alpha male dominant athlete, said, yeah, I'd beat the fucking brakes off of Logan Paul. And I 100% believe he would. I understand Myles is not a boxer. However, Myles Garrett is a superior athlete to Logan Paul. He is 270 pounds. Logan weighs 180. That would make a huge difference. And there is no way I'm picking a Paul brother to beat the fuck out of Myles Garrett.
And is that with or without a helmet in his hands?
I don't really give a shit. If you give Myles the helmet, it's game over. Ask Mason Rudolph.
Yep.
But there's no fucking way. Boxing is a very honed skill. It takes time to get good at it. Myles does not have that time. Logan does. But give me the athlete, because Myles is going to have so much power. Myles is going to have to hit him once, clean, and that's it.
Yeah. I plan on trying to check out this fight this weekend just because, I'm not a huge fan of the Paul brothers in general, but if there's one that I really dislike, it's Jake Paul. I hate his attitude. He plays the heel role so well, and I don't even think that it's a role. I just think that he's kind of a prick. So anytime that I have an opportunity to watch this guy get his ass whooped, I would love to see it. Hopefully that's how it goes down. Not so sure if it's going to, but because he's been doing nothing but boxing training, so he's a boxer now.
Yeah, he is a boxer now. I will give him that. He committed to it. He is now a boxer. He has not fought guys that I thought were boxers, like Ben Askren. I knew he was going to beat the shit out of him. He's a wrestler. And then Nate Robinson was the other one. That's not. Nate Robinson is a well past his prime NBA player who is 5'9".
I don't know. It wasn't much of a fight.
No.
From either of them, really. I mean, obviously Jake looked like the better guy in that 100%, but he wasn't even as honed on his boxing career at that point in time. So he's made some big leaps and strides since then. But at least now he's fighting a legit fighter. Askren was, wrestler and had, some time in the UFC. But Woodley is much more competition than Askren was.
Woodley can throw some fucking bombs. Yeah. He has the power to lay him out. Can he? I don't know. Boxing is different than MMA.
Yeah.
When you're throwing punches in MMA, you're setting up other shit. In this, it's all punches. So we'll see. I hope that Woodley knocks him out. I don't know, though, man. If I'm betting with my head, I'm taking Jake Paul. If I'm betting with my heart, I'm taking Tyron Woodley.
Fair enough.
But you guys have heard me say that already. I bet with my head, so I would have to take Jake in this.
Fair enough. All right, y'all. So that kind of wraps it up, I believe, unless there's anything else that we want to hit on before we head out for the day.
I don't think so, man. I mean, we got a busy day. We said that we were going to keep this one pretty short. We covered a lot of topics that maybe we don't necessarily hit on a lot all the time. Like we finally got a bet in. We got some fantasy in there. So yeah, it was good. I'm ready to go fucking play a little whack fuck.
Yeah. Pop a couple drinks. Get things going.
Getting started now.
It's going to be hot.
It's going to be hot as fuck. Also, I got to get some fucking spaghetti sauce started. We're doing chicken parmesan for my mom on her birthday. So I got a lot of shit to do before that tea time at 3:15.
Yeah. Yeah,
I got to edit this fucking podcast.
I'm going to try to fucking catch a little bit of sleep because I'm working on about 2.5 hours right now. So, yeah, I'm feeling it. But, you know, your boy, he goes after the golf regardless. Injuries, no sleep, doesn't matter. I'm going to go out there and hopefully make the Eagles sideline reporter, Bert Goblin. He doesn't like to be called Bert, so Bert Goblin. Hopefully make him look like a bitch. And at the end of the day, a day of golf is better than a day in the office. So I'm looking forward to just swing the clubs a little bit.
Well, I got to work on my swing a little bit, but this is a course that I love playing, and you guys fucking hate it. So maybe my score will be a little bit closer to your guys this time.
Hey,
that's what I'm hoping for, anyways. We'll see.
We'll see.
But let's get the fuck out of here.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to like, subscribe. Just, you know, if you're sitting down on YouTube watching this video, lean back in your chair, unbuckle your belt, pull out some lube, and gently rub that like button for us.
Also hit the subscribe.
Yep. It'd be great. We'd love that. It helps the channel, helps the pod. Thanks, everybody, for watching and supporting us.
Also, there is a little bell on the YouTube page. That way you can get notifications whenever new videos come out. That also helps you guys understand or know when these drop. I'm obviously going to still put it out on social when they drop, but you can also get notifications from the YouTube. So,
all right. Yeah, thanks, everybody, for watching. Hope you have a good weekend. Enjoy your weekend of sports, the fights, some football, college football. I think that's it for us, man.
That's right, guys. This is the Lineman Lounge. Sleeves are optional.
See you.